In this episode, we'll review the timeline of Stranger Things from seasons 1 to 4, from its explosive debut in 2016 with season 1, all the way to the final season in 2025. There have been several years between each season, enough time for the young actors to grow beards. During this period, a lot of the plot may have become a bit hazy, so this video will help you quickly catch up before the final season airs on the 27th of this month. Are you ready to return to Hawkins? The story begins on November 6, 1983, when the peace of the small town of Hawkins, Indiana is completely shattered. That night, after playing Dungeons & Dragons with his friends Mike, Dustin, and Lucas, Will rides his bike home alone, only to encounter a shadowy monster on the street. He then mysteriously disappears in the shed behind his house. Will's frantic mother, Joyce, begs Chief Hopper for help. Hopper, a man who lost his daughter to cancer and carries the trauma of the Vietnam War, decides to launch a thorough investigation. Meanwhile, as Will's three best friends search for him, they unexpectedly encounter a mysterious girl. She has a shaved head, limited language skills, and the number 011 tattooed on her wrist, so they name her Eleven. By flipping over the Dungeons & Dragons board, Eleven delivers a shocking message to them. Will is trapped in an alternate dimension called the Upside Down. A monster is hunting him, and he uses a Dungeons & Dragons piece to name it the Demogorgon. Meanwhile, Mike's sister Nancy and her friend Barb attend a party at Steve's house. While Nancy and Steve get intimate, Barb is taken by the Demogorgon at the poolside. At the same time, Will's brother Jonathan happens to be nearby, searching for clues about his brother's disappearance, and accidentally captures an image of the Demogorgon. Jonathan and Nancy grow closer as they each search for their loved ones, and they join forces to investigate. Joyce receives a strange phone call at home, accompanied by electrical static and flickering lights. Cleverly, she uses Christmas lights to create an alphabet wall, allowing her to briefly communicate with her son Will. Will spells out "run," and the Demogorgon actually crawls out of the ceiling in her house, just when everyone thinks Will's body has been found at the quarry. But Eleven is convinced that Will is still alive. Afterwards, Hopper digs deeper into the investigation and discovers that the body was a fake. At the same time, he and Joyce find Terry, who once participated in mind control experiments. They learn that her daughter Jane was not miscarried, but was actually taken away by Dr. Brenner and trained to become Eleven. When school bullies force Mike to jump into the quarry, Eleven uses her telekinesis to make Mike float in the air, saving him. After a heartwarming hug, Eleven falls into a flashback. It turns out that after Dr. Brenner discovered the existence of the Upside Down, he sent Eleven in to make contact with the monster inside. That day was November 6, 1983, when Eleven herself opened a new gateway to the Upside Down. Back in the present, Dr. Brenner sends his men to track down Eleven, leading to one of the season's most iconic scenes. Eleven uses her telekinesis to flip their van. The newly united group then uses a makeshift sensory deprivation tank made from a pool and salt water to boost Eleven's abilities, helping her locate Will and Barbara. She informs everyone that Barbara didn't make it, but Will is still alive. Hopper and Joyce break into the Hawkins lab, but are quickly captured by the lab staff. At this point, Hopper proposes a deal. He'll give up Eleven's location if the lab allows the two of them to enter the Upside Down to search for Will. Nancy and Jonathan decide to set a trap at Will's house, using the Demogorgon's attraction to blood to lure it in and try to kill it. At that moment, Steve barges in, thinking the two are having a secret rendezvous, but he ends up fighting the Demogorgon with them. With the help of the trap, they manage to temporarily drive the Demogorgon back into the Upside Down. After Dr. Brenner gets a lead on Eleven, he brings his team to the school. Eleven uses her powers to kill a large group of them, but the Demogorgon is drawn in by the scent of blood. After taking out Dr. Brenner, Eleven uses up all her strength in the final showdown with the Demogorgon, banishing it back to the Upside Down, but she disappears along with it. Meanwhile, Hopper and Joyce bravely enter the Upside Down and rescue a barely alive Will from the Hawkins library. But in the footage from Season 5 that was leaked online ahead of time, it's revealed that while Will was in the Upside Down, he was actually fighting the Demogorgon in Castle Byers before being captured and taken to the Hawkins library. However, the story doesn't end there. On Christmas in 1983, just when everything seems to have returned to normal, Will coughs up a slimy slug in the bathroom, and his mind reconnects with the Upside Down. Has he really come back? This is only the beginning. Season 2 picks up on Halloween in 1984. The kids are dressed up as the Ghostbusters, but beneath the fun, trouble is brewing. Every night, Mike stubbornly calls out to Eleven over the radio, but never gets a response. Nancy is consumed by guilt over the death of her friend Barb. Meanwhile, Barb's parents, unaware that their daughter is already dead, hire a conspiracy theorist named Murray, who keeps pestering Chief Hopper in search of the truth. Joyce starts dating Bob, while Dustin discovers a strange little slug and names it D'Artagnan, or Dart for short. He and Will realize that it's very similar to the slugs Will coughed up before. These creatures quickly grow into Demodogs, which are the adolescent stage of the Demogorgon. Although Will has returned to our world, he is still tormented by terrifying visions of the Upside Down. He sees a huge, smoke-like monster, which we later learn is called the Mind Flayer. The name also comes from Dungeons & Dragons, just like the classic villains. Shifting the focus back to 11 at the end of the first season, she banished herself along with the Demogorgon to the Upside Down, but then found a rift and crawled back. She struggled to survive in the forest until Hopper found her and secretly settled her in a cabin in the woods. The two eventually formed a relationship similar to that of a father and daughter. Hawkins' lab is now run by the gentler Dr. Owens, and a new student, Max, has arrived at the school. Lucas develops a crush on her. Max's half-brother, Billy, is an angry bad boy who quickly becomes a fierce rival to Steve. At the same time, Steve is worried about losing Nancy to Jonathan, who is getting closer to her. Nancy and Jonathan try to tell Barb's parents the truth about the lab. When Dr. Owens finds out, he tries to persuade them otherwise, but Nancy secretly records their conversation and gives the tape to Murray. The recording confirms that Barb is dead, which brings Nancy some relief from her pain. Meanwhile, Dart, under Dustin's care and feeding, quickly grows into a Demodog. After killing his cat, Dart disappears. Steve becomes Dustin's babysitter and life coach, accompanying him into the woods to lure Dart with meat and planning to kill him. However, Will's condition suddenly takes a turn for the worse, and the Mind Flayer ultimately takes control of him. Possessed by the Mind Flayer, Will starts demanding that the environment around him be kept cold, and he draws a huge number of seemingly random pictures. The adults eventually realize that when these drawings are pieced together, they form an image of the Mind Flayer, which matches the underground tunnel system beneath Hawkins exactly. When the lab agents try to burn one of the tunnels with fire, Will screams in agony. Only then does everyone understand that Will is connected to the Mind Flayer through a kind of hive mind. He is connected to the entire Upside Down and all its creatures. Here lies a crucial foreshadowing for Season 5. The Duffer Brothers, the show's creators, have pointed out that Episode 6 of Season 2, when Will is taken to the lab and identified as the Mind Flayer's agent or host, is key to understanding Season 5. Let's get back to the story. 11 discovers that Hopper has been hiding the truth about her mother, Terry, from her. Using her psychic abilities, she finds her biological mother. Terry confirms her own identity, and at the same time, the hive mind controlling Will commands the Demodogs and other creatures to attack everyone in the tunnels in the lab. Joyce, Bob, Will, Hopper, Mike, and Dr. Owens are trapped in the lab. To escape, they inject Will with a sedative to temporarily free him from the hive mind surveillance. Bob volunteers to restart the power system. He succeeds, but just as he's about to escape, he's caught and brutally killed by the Demodogs. At Will's house, the remaining group tries to force the Mind Flayer out of Will's body by heating up the room. In response, the Mind Flayer sends more Demodogs to stop him. At the critical moment, 11 makes a dramatic return, wiping out all the Demodogs and shocking her friends, who thought she was dead. To save Will, everyone splits up to work together. Joyce takes Will to Hopper's cabin and uses high temperatures to drive the Mind Flayer out of his body, while 11 and Hopper return to the lab, attempting to permanently close the gate and sever the connection between the Upside Down and the Demodogs. The other kids distract the Demodogs by setting the tunnels on fire, and in the end the Mind Flayer is successfully separated from Will. 11 then uses her powerful psychic abilities to close the gate to the Upside Down for good. Season 2 ends with a warm school dance, where Mike and 11 finally share their first kiss. But hope is always shadowed by darkness. The Mind Flayer once again looms over the school in the Upside Down. By the third season, in the sweltering July of 1985, everyone in Hawkins was going crazy over the brand new shopping mall, even though its prosperity came at the expense of the old downtown district's decline. Romantic relationships also became a central theme. Mike and 11 were constantly making out in Hopper's cabin, which drove Hopper crazy. Because of this, he made a rule that the door had to be kept open by 10 centimeters. Lucas and Max were also getting along really well, and even Dustin, who had just come back from summer camp, excitedly announced that he had a new girlfriend named Susie in Utah. To talk to her, he built a homemade radio tower, but accidentally intercepted a coded message in Russian. But at first, no one believed him. It seemed like only Will was being left out. He just wanted to play Dungeons & Dragons with his friends. This further established Will's character as someone who isn't interested in girls. At this time, Steve was working at an ice cream shop in the mall and had become close friends with his new coworker, Robin. Dustin brought the recording to Steve, and Robin, who was skilled at code breaking, managed to crack the message. The message revealed that some cargo was being transported to the mall, and so a secret investigation began. Lucas's little sister, the clever and mischievous Erica, was brought into the group. Using her small size, she crawled through the mall's air ducts and discovered a hidden freight elevator. Beneath the elevator was a massive secret Soviet base, where machines were being used to try to open a new gateway to the Upside Down. Meanwhile, Billy became a lifeguard at the community pool. His charm caught the attention of Mike's mom, Karen Wheeler, who almost betrayed her husband Ted for this young man. But at the crucial moment, when she saw her youngest daughter Holly asleep in Ted's bed, she pulled back from the edge. However, Billy was suddenly attacked and dragged into an abandoned steel mill where the Mind Flayers successfully possessed him. Nancy and Jonathan, now interns at the Hawkins Post, were investigating some crazed rats and discovered evidence proving that something had been stealing and eating fertilizer. All these clues eventually converged, revealing that Billy, who was possessed by the Mind Flayer, was helping and control these people. All those under control were connected to the steel mill through a vine-like network, forming a massive hive mind entity. These people under control could merge into a huge, fleshy, mushroom-like monster, and part of it attacked Nancy and Jonathan at the hospital. Eleven and her friends arrived just in time and worked together to throw the monster out the window. Meanwhile, things were heating up between Joyce and Hopper, but Hopper was attacked by a Terminator-like Soviet assassin. Hopper learned from the corrupt mayor that the Soviets had been buying up abandoned properties around town. Joyce and Hopper ran into the Terminator-like assassin again and kidnapped a lovable Soviet scientist named Alexei, who just wanted to drink Slurpees. They found Murray to help translate, and together they finally pieced together the whole plan. The Soviets were trying to open a new gate to the Upside Down beneath a new mall. Eleven used her psychic link to enter Billy's memories and learned that the Mind Flayer saw her as its #1 threat since she had closed the gate before. The Mind Flayer used this opportunity to locate Eleven and sent an even bigger monster made of melted flesh to kill her. During the fierce battle, a piece of the monster got embedded in Eleven's leg. Meanwhile, Steve and Robin were discovered in the secret base and subjected to a brutal interrogation. After successfully escaping and under the influence of the drugs, Robin came out to Steve, who gave her his full support. Their friendship became even stronger. Everyone regrouped at the mall, where Eleven forcefully removed the monster fragment from her leg, but this caused her to lose all her powers. Hopper, Joyce, and Murray took Alexei to the mall to meet up with the kids, but on the way, poor Alexei was shot and killed by the Terminator-like assassin. Dustin, Steve, Robin, and Erica headed to the radio tower to help Hopper coordinate remotely. Dustin finally got in touch with his real girlfriend Susie from Utah, and she helped him recite the safe code that Hopper needed to shut down the machine. The two of them singing the theme song from Neverending Story over the radio became the most romantic and funniest moment of the whole season. The final battle broke out at the mall, and Billy, controlled by the Mind Flayer, arrived. The kids attacked the giant monster with fireworks. Eleven awakened Billy's happiest memories deep inside, allowing him to briefly break free from control. In the end, he sacrificed himself to save Eleven. In the underground base, Hopper fought with the Terminator-like assassin and finally threw him into the energy machine, grinding him into dust. When Joyce was about to shut down the machine, which could have caused an explosion, Hopper gave her one last loving look, and then the explosion happened. Hopper sacrificed himself heroically. The energy machine was destroyed, and the gate was successfully closed. Afterwards, Dr. Owens and the US military covered up the whole incident by claiming it was just a mall fire. After losing Hopper, Eleven leaves Hawkins with Joyce, Will, and Jonathan, heading to the West Coast in California. At the end of the season, Eleven reads a letter Hopper left behind, filled with fatherly love and advice. His reminder to keep the door open 3 inches is especially heartbreaking, but the post-credits scene reveals a twist. At a base far away on Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, the guards mention that an American is being held prisoner. But when they open the dungeon to release the Demogorgon on the prisoners, it turns out the prisoner inside isn't just one person. Now we move into Season 4. It's spring break in 1986, and this season's story unfolds in 3 different locations at the same time. Mike heads to California to visit Eleven and the Byers family. Without her powers, Eleven is bullied at school by a girl named Angela. Eventually, at the roller rink, Eleven slaps Angela across the face with a skate. Afterwards, Eleven is taken away by the police. Meanwhile, Joyce receives a letter from the Soviet Union and learns that Hopper is still alive. He was captured by the Soviets during last year's explosion and is now being held in the harsh Kamchatka prison. Joyce immediately teams up with Murray and manages to contact the person who sent the letter. It turns out the person is a guard at that prison who intends to exchange Hopper for $40,000. Through a pilot middleman named Yuri, they plan a rescue mission to Alaska and then onto the Soviet Union. Back in Hawkins, Mike and Dustin join the Hellfire Club led by Eddie, continuing their Dungeons & Dragons adventures. Lucas has already broken up with Max, and Max is sinking deeper into grief over her brother Billy's death, while Lucas tries to fit in with the basketball team, working hard to become popular. A new fear begins to shroud the once peaceful town. Cheer Captain Chrissy starts experiencing terrifying visions of plots. She seeks out Eddie to buy drugs in an attempt to escape the hallucinations. But in Eddie's trailer, she falls into a trance, her body twisting and levitating in a bizarre way, and ultimately dies a gruesome death. Eddie becomes the prime suspect and goes on the run. The whole town, stirred up by Chrissy's boyfriend Jason, is swept up in a wave of satanic panic directed at Eddie. Dustin, Steve, Robin, and Max find the hiding Eddie, and they name this new monster Vecna. Nancy starts investigating Chrissy's bizarre death and discovers that years ago, the Creel family was murdered in the same way. The townspeople have locked up the family's father, Victor Creel, in a mental institution where he insists it was a demon that killed his children. Back to 11, the military has now gotten involved and suspects that the mysterious deaths of those kids are connected to her. Dr. Owens finds her in advance and takes her to a secret desert base in Nevada. Shockingly, Dr. Brenner, who died in the first season, is also there. They launch the Nina Project, using a sensory deprivation tank to help 11 recover her memories and restore her powers. Through this, we get to see her past in the Rainbow Room at Hawkins' lab and meet a friendly orderly she was close to. And this orderly turns out to be the lab's very first superpowered subject, Number 1. Number 1's real name is Henry Creel. After tricking 11 into helping him write a few letters, he regained his terrifying powers and brutally murdered all the other child test subjects. His methods were exactly the same as how Vecna now harms teenagers. 11 refused to go along with them. In their showdown, she used all of her strength to banish Number 1 to the void. There, Henry connected with the spiral modulator and merged to become Vecna. At this point, we learned that Victor's youngest son, Henry Creel, had awakened his superpowers from a young age. After killing his little sister, he fell into a coma and was taken by Dr. Brenner to the lab, becoming Number 1. So Henry Creel, Number 1, the orderly, and Vecna are all the same person. And now, Vecna is trying to reopen the gate to our world through this series of kills. At this moment, the military attacks the firehouse in California. Mike, Will, Jonathan, and his friend Argyle have no choice but to go on the run, driving Argyle's pizza van across the country in search of 11. They make their way to Utah to visit Dustin's girlfriend Susie, and with her help, they locate the desert base in Nevada. When the group arrives, the base is under attack by the military. Having regained his powers, 11 successfully brings down a military helicopter, and Dr. Brenner truly dies during this experiment. After that, the group sets out by car to return to Hawkins. Back in Hawkins, Vecna kills 2 more teenagers. Max is horrified to discover that she's showing the same symptoms as the previous victims. She goes to Billy's grave and is then pulled into a trance by Vecna. Earlier, after hearing Victor's story, Nancy and Robin deduce that music is the key to breaking the curse. At the critical moment, Dustin uses a Walkman to play Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill for Max, and the music creates a gap in her consciousness. Max runs with all her might and manages to escape. In the Soviet Union, Joyce and Murray discover that Yuri has betrayed them and plans to sell them to the prison by plane. On the way, they break free from the restraints and hijack the plane, forcing it to crash land. Murray disguises himself as Yuri to sneak into the prison, where he finds Hopper, who is being held in the Demogorgon pit. They also discover other upside-down creature specimens in the prison laboratory, including a fragment of a planet. In the end, they successfully rescue Hopper and find another helicopter belonging to Yuri. Overjoyed, Joyce and Hopper become intimate with each other. After receiving a call for help from Dr. Owens, they decide to stay in the Soviet Union and cause chaos in the prison, attacking creatures from the Upside Down to create a diversion as per the mission given by 11. Back in Hawkins, the kids discover that temporary gates have appeared at every murder site. Steve, Nancy, Robin, and Eddie enter the Upside Down through an underwater gate, only to find that the entire Upside Down is frozen in time on the night of November 6, 1983. That was exactly when 11, under Dr. Brenner's supervision in the lab, accidentally opened the gate with XK9C from time to time, which became the origin of all the stories in the Strange Space series. The 4 who entered the Upside Down meet up with the others at the gate located at Eddie's trailer. When they tried to return, Nancy was bewitched by Vecna. In a trance, Vecna showed her terrifying visions of Hawkins being destroyed and revealed that a 4th killing, Max, was needed to fully open the gate. The group came up with a dangerous plan to use Max as bait to lure Vecna out in the attic of his old house. Eddie and Dustin put on an epic performance of the thrilling song Master of Madhouse in the Upside Down to draw the attention of all the demons. Eddie sacrificed himself heroically. Meanwhile, Steve, Nancy, and Robin enter the Upside Down again, attacking Vecna's physical form, who was in a trance, with fire and guns. At the same time, Eleven and her group realized that time was running out, and they couldn't make it back to Hawkins in time. At the Surfer Boy pizza shop, Argyle built a makeshift sensory deprivation tank out of a freezer, allowing Eleven to remotely engage in a psychic showdown with Vecna. Everything was going according to plan. Vecna successfully found Max, and Eleven showed up just in time. But having only just regained her powers, Eleven was no match for Vecna. As luck would have it, Chrissy's boyfriend Jason barged into the attic of the Creel house at that moment, mistakenly believing that Lucas was performing some kind of cult ritual on Max. During the struggle, Max's Walkman was destroyed. At the critical moment, Mike shouted, "I love you," to Eleven. That love gave Eleven enough strength to seriously wound Vecna. But because Max's Walkman was destroyed, her life was taken by Vecna, and a massive rift was torn open in the Hawkins library. In the Upside Down, Nancy, Steve, and Robin blasted the wounded Vecna out the window, but he vanished like an immortal ghost. Eleven used her powers to force Max's heart to start beating again, but Max only fell into a coma, and that massive rift remained wide open. A few days later, the authorities covered up the incident as an earthquake, but the residents of Hawkins no longer believed it and began to flee in droves. Family and friends were finally reunited in Hawkins. The kids were overjoyed to discover that Hopper was still alive. However, hope was short-lived as the ash from the Upside Down drifted down like snowflakes. Will touched that familiar spot on the back of his neck. Everyone ran up the hillside, horrified to see the massive rift spreading across the surface of Hawkins.
And that's everything you need to watch before diving into Stranger Things Season 5. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think. And now, see you in the Upside Down.